Enthusiasm, and I think we have a marvelous panel here, but we do have to move along. Now, aside from being marginalized, vilified, and prosecuted for telling the truth, truth tellers and freedom fighters in Europe are also being physically assaulted while the authorities stand by idly. And Anders Gravers from the Stop Islamization of Europe group in Denmark is one of those. And he will now enlarge on the situation in Europe for us in this dire situation.
Thank you. I'll go straight for it. I'm here to warn Americans against two of the Muslim war strategies.
He's talking to the mic, Anna.
Yeah, okay, it's better now?
Yeah.
The salami method.
No,
Okay.
Closer.
Closer? I go closer.
That's it.
Okay. Okay, a little bit higher. I'm here to warn the Americans against two of the Muslim war strategies. The salami method, slice by slice, so no one opposes, and the dominant behavior of the Muslims. They have used these strategies in Denmark and Europe for over 30 years now. Islam would never have got a stronghold in Europe if it not have been for the European dhimmis. What is a dhimmi then? The basic understanding of a dhimmi is a person who is under Islam's so-called protection and pay Muslim jizya, a kind of protection money. A lot of Christians live under very bad conditions as dhimmis all over the Muslim world today. I will use the word dhimmi in another way. We use the dhimmi to describe mainly left-wing multicultural people who are Muslim appeasers. When I think about these dhimmis, I always think of the old Winston Churchill quote, "An appeaser is one who feeds a crocodile hoping it will eat him last." They are ready to do anything to please the Muslims and meet their demands in order to avoid any trouble or tensions. In fact, they are ready to sell out the Western values to live in peace. It is another way of paying jizya. In effect, they have not only allowed the salami method, they have encouraged it. In the beginning, when there were not so many Muslims, there were no demands. But when the numbers increased, they started to demand special treatments for Muslims. Here follows a few examples of the salami method in Europe. Muslims have demanded special times for Muslim women only to use the public swimming pool because Muslim women are not allowed to swim together with men. That was one slice. Muslim men have demanded curtains in the changing room, in the shower section, because Muslim men are not allowed to show themselves naked in front of other men. They have got their curtains. Yet another slice. The Muslim children are not allowed to take showers with the other children after gym hours in school. Yet another slice. The Muslims can't even be dead together with the so-called non-believers in the mortuaries in the hospitals. Muslim relatives have demanded special rooms for their dead family members, and they have got it for our tax money. Yet another slice. In some cemeteries, the dead are buried facing Mecca, Muslim or not. In England, a church was converted into a mosque, and the Christian graves there bulldozed to oblivion. Only the Muslim dead are to be respected in dhimmi Europe. Pigs were removed from children's book, and banks have removed the children's piggy banks because they hurt the Muslim feelings. Banks now offer Sharia banking because Muslims are not allowed to pay interest. This gives Muslims the control over where the money goes, and Muslim so-called charities are financed. Muslims have demanded praying rooms in the schools and have got it. Everybody is obliged to take any kind of job offered when getting social welfare. Unemployed Muslim women are allowed to say no to certain jobs where they could get in contact with men or pork meat. At Christmas time, big supermarkets and malls have removed the Christian Christmas decoration just because it maybe could offend the Muslims. Oxford in England have changed Christmas into the winter festival to avoid offending Muslims. But the mosque is allowed to use loudspeakers 5 times a day for calling to prayer. 99% of all poultry in Denmark is now halal slaughtered, and fee is paid to Muslim organization for every eats poultry that is slaughtered. Large food chains such as KFC now only offer halal meat in some stores. In many big towns, institutions don't serve pork meat for the children any longer. So even though the Danish economy is largely based on pork exports, Danish children are no longer allowed to eat all the different and common pork dishes. Some of the schools in Copenhagen have recently introduced mothers-only parent-teacher meetings. The fact is that they are appeasing the Muslim men who do not allow their wives to take part in any meetings where men are present. Therefore, Danish fathers have to stay home when women-only meetings take place. Because of the cartoon crisis, journalists no longer dare to publish the Muhammad cartoon in the newspapers. Books have been rewritten because fear of Muslim violence, and latest an auction house didn't want to sell a drawing made by Kurt Vestergaard because of fear from Muslim protest. The Sharia censorship is creeping in. The appeasement politics carried out by the European dhimmis has not made the Muslim more satisfied with the Europeans, in fact the contrary. Because the minute Muslim demands are being met, they feel that they have enough power to move to the next step, and that is to use a well-known Muslim weapon, dominant behavior, towards everybody who is not a Muslim. The dominant behavior is intended to make non-Muslims convert to Islam so they can be in peace. We see this dominant behavior in the rise of the crime rate committed by the non-Western population. They want to show that they are in charge of the whole infidel kufr system. Muslims throw stones and bottles at police, firemen, and rescue teams when they enter the Muslim-only ghettos. Ambulances and firemen have to wait for police escort before they go into these ghettos. In Denmark, we have the right to demonstrate in any public place we like, as long as the demonstrations are peaceful. The police cannot forbid them. But because of the increasing Muslim population, the police have now ordered the demonstrations to stay out of certain areas with many Muslim inhabitants. The reason? The police fear Muslim violence and vandalism. In other words, we have now areas where Muslims control the streets and where the Danish law no longer applies. We have to hire professional security for our demonstrations. Muslim criminal gangs are ruling the streets in many of the major cities in Europe, where their dominant behavior spreads fear amongst the people living there. In Copenhagen, Muslim gangs have made special zones where people will be body searched if they want to pass through. The police have not yet succeeded to stop it. This dominant behavior spreads to non-Muslim areas also. If a person meets a group of young Muslims on the street and dares to look them in the eyes, the Muslims take that as a provocation and attack the person. That's happened every day now in Denmark. Most Danes now look down when passing Muslim groups as a result of the dominant behavior. Sweden is the most compliant nation of all European countries, and they have one of the highest rape rates in Europe, most of them committed by Muslims. The more you appease the Muslims, the more dominant behavior you will suffer. In Norway, dhimmi politicians said women must dress in such a way that they do not invite Muslim men to rape them. What happened to the rights of women we have fought for? Homosexuals are also feeling the Muslim dominant behavior. Attacks on them are the most common hate crimes in big cities. Greenland is a part of the Danish state, which is why there are so many Greenlanders in Denmark. Some of them have been stoned out of Muslim areas. They have actually been expelled from Gellerup, a Muslim area in the second biggest town, Aarhus. Jews are being hunted down and beaten up in Europe these days. Many Jews dare not to wear the kippah in certain areas because they fear violent attacks from Muslims. In fact, many Jews have now left Europe because it's no longer safe to live in major cities in Europe as a Jew. Jews have also left Denmark because of that. It hurts to watch this development in Denmark because Denmark is known for our rescuing of numerous Jews during World War II. Now the police intelligence have openly declared that they cannot even guarantee their safety anymore. With all this in mind, a special quote comes to my mind which fits exactly on Islam in Europe. The way to march 1,000 miles and still win the battle is to make the other side march the 1,000 miles for you. The dhimmis and the dhimmi attitude we have marched and still are marching for Islam. How can we stop this suicidal development? How can we turn this quote around and use it against the Islamization of Europe? SIOD was founded in 2007 as an European model of SIOD, Stop Islamization of Denmark. One of the cornerstones in SIOD is our provocations. We are fully convinced that if we should have a chance, in return for some European control of oil resources, Muslim countries will have unfettered access to technology and movement of people into Europe. The price Europeans will have to pay is the introduction of Sharia law and removal of democracy. Believe me, America is not far behind, and we think you are overtaking us. Violent, economic, cultural, and stealth jihad is the knife slicing the salami of freedom. The salami of freedom is still being sliced. It is the time for us to snatch the slicing knife of jihad, stop mosque building, stop Sharia law, and stop Sharia finance. For we are free, not dhimmis, and we will never be dhimmis, and we will never surrender. That's why the Western world... That's why the Western world have stand together and fight evil and fight for freedom and democracy. Thank you very much.